Tina, Tina,
Hello,
people
Vivian.
always ask me, do you work only with coaches? I'm like, no, I work with all sorts of people. I just attract a lot of coaches. You are not a coach.
I'm not a coach, no. And it was my first question, is this going to work for my business? My name's Tina Jesson, tinastraditional.com. I own an English tea room in the middle of Indiana.
Give her a hand.
Well,
where was your tea room business before you joined us, and how long ago was that?
I started my business back in 2011 selling scones at farmers markets. I had a big vision, but I was only taking small steps because I was really scared. And I remember the first time I turned up at a farmer's market with a British flag in the middle of an American field, I thought they were going to send me home. So I've been through a lot of fear.
Yes.
By 2014, I opened my tea room, and I had run that I opened that in 2014. Last year, though, I had a few things that happened. I'm here just with my husband in the US, and I lost both my stepdad and mum within 10 weeks. And that took a lot of recovery emotionally. That was in the August. In November, I had a cancer scare. So by the new year, and I'd been looking for a coach because I knew that I could only go so far with this one location, and there was only so much I could do, and I was empty. And you popped up on Facebook. Isn't Derek great?
Derek is great. Give him a hand.
And I basically watched the video of Mindset religiously every night. Instead of watching the TV, I was plugged in. It took me 6 weeks to go through it. And then I made my call, my coaching call. And my first question was, is this going to work for my business?
Yeah. Your fear with that was that the content, the curriculum, the coaching wasn't going to be for you.
The thing is, I'd worked in a business before where I understood the value of IP and putting programs out there, but I knew that that wasn't really where I was at the moment. And I've been on this earth a long time too, so there was a lot of stuff that I knew how to do, but it wasn't about the what, it was about the support. And I was given 24 hours to think about things, and I just needed a little bit of time. And I turned my angel card over that morning, and it said support. And I just had this deep knowing, having made such a connection with you. I am obsessed by your videos. Just putting it out there. And I know when we first met, it was like, oh, I can't believe I'm here. Yeah, it was a big hurdle. Apart from the fact, obviously, it's a huge investment.
Yeah.
And, you know, is that something I can afford? But, you know, if you want it hard enough, you find the money.
You can always find the money.
Yeah. So.
What's happened? You started with, this was what, almost a year ago?
Yeah, I actually signed up for Leverage in March.
In March, so less than, yeah.
Yeah.
What's happened with your tea room?
There's not one any longer. There's not two. There's three.
3 tea rooms.
And you know the thing that made me kind of go forward in this? You've all heard today about the opportunities under your nose. In the February, I'd been asked by a coffee shop, would I be interested in turning it into a Tina's Traditional? And I said no, because I had no energy, I had no emotional strength left. And I turned it down.
The opportunity for growth came.
And it was only when I watched Mindset that I realized that that was the universe telling me, I've been wanting to, I want to franchise this thing, you know, I got big ideas, but they were so far away, and it was, how was I going to get there? And it just made me go back and think, well, why have I said no to this? And with the support of this infrastructure, if it's ever going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I can't do it on my own.
Yeah. When you were thinking about going from one tea room to another, there was, we talked about creating systems and operations. And instead of running a Tina-driven business, it became a process-driven business that can be duplicated again and again and again and again and again. So this is why, is this why you were able to open up 2 other tea rooms right away?
Oh gosh, absolutely. Our first leverage meeting was all about systems, which had been on my to-do list for 3 years because I knew I had to do it, but it was written down in such a way that it was systemize everything. I'm a creative.
Yeah.
I was never going to sit down and write all the systems. I was struggling to get the recipes down. But we sat down and we did the work in the room, and I took it to my team. And an amazing thing happened. I've got goosebumps, sorry. They read and listened to what I had to say to them about what my vision was and what I needed them to do. And within 3 months, my business was unrecognizable. We had all the recipes down. We knew the cost of every menu item, which is a really important thing in a restaurant. I had training down. I had everything systemized, and I even managed to get the events that I would run systemized so I don't have to be in the room any longer. And the power of that was incredible. And I didn't have to do the work. That was the amazing part of it. I passed it on to my team, and they ran with it. They flew with it. And suddenly I realized it's not just me anymore. I've got the support in my team, and now they've got the direction of what they needed to do, and they were happy to step up. And that was such a gift.
What's happened to your revenues, Tina?
Well, obviously, being a physical location, growth sucks cash.
Yeah, we talk about that.
Yeah. But I had my first 288% growth day last week.
Wow.
And considering we've grown so much so quickly, I'm still 50% up on revenue this year to the same time last year. And I expect to be at 900,000 by the end of next year.
Wow. You're welcome. Tina, you love your husband.
I do.
Just as much as I love mine. You can talk about this, or you don't have to, because it was a private conversation.
To.
You would?
I
okay.
would.
It was a private conversation between you and I, but
it was the first time we got on the phone together for our one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
And I was talking about what we were doing in the business. And then I just made this flippant comment, and Fabienne just picked up on it, and this is how it went. So my husband refers to himself as a tea room widow, ha 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 ha. And Fabienne said, Tina, let me just stop you right there. There is a huge issue here that you're just not seeing. And then you asked, do you love your husband? And I went, yes, I love him to pieces. We've been together 26 years now, actually. And you gave me some really great resources and insight. And what I would say is that even though I've been working so hard, developing so much has happened in the business over the summer. David and I have had the best summer ever. Seriously, we have had time off. We've been on vacation together. We've had weekends off. I've got my weekends back.
She has a restaurant.
I have a restaurant and I have my weekends back.
Because I heard right away, I have my husband is a tea room widow. But I knew that she had just said to me, if you're asking me what I really want, Fabienne, I want to grow more and more and more locations. And the math did not compute for me. I thought if he's already feeling like he doesn't see enough of Tina on evenings and weekends, we've got to deal with that. We've got to set up the business in a way so that she can grow and he will stay.
Exactly. And that's been my biggest fear.
And so she wasn't going out there to grow her business because she didn't put the two together, how I can grow my business and still be happily married.
Yeah, and stay married. I mean, that's my biggest fear, if not staying married. But now, and when David and I have had conversations, about the money, he was mad. He was very mad. Yeah. But then I reminded him, he said, how could you spend this amount of money on this? You can do it anyway. And it's like, David, I can't, sweetheart. I appreciate you thinking I can. I've gone as far as I can on my own, but boy, do I need the support. And he said, join a church. I said, no, that's not the answer. It's not the answer for me.
We have to appreciate our spouses because usually they're wired exactly differently than us, right? We entrepreneurs are risk takers, we're creators, we are high idea generators, but we're not wired to finish things. Typically, we're married to people who are analytical, consistent, they follow through on everything, and they say to us, you know what to do, just go do it, you don't need somebody. But it's not true.
No. And it's funny you say that about the people we're married to. David is an engineer for Rolls-Royce Aero Engines.
Of course he is.
So, he's a spreadsheet guy.
Yeah.
But we sat down and we had a really good conversation, and he helped me put that spreadsheet together. That means I can track daily where we are in the business. Yeah. And I reminded him, but didn't we have a great summer? Didn't I get every weekend off? And isn't that worth what I'm putting into this?
And what'd he say? Yes.
He said, well, you've got a point.
Any words of advice for those who are sitting on the fence about doing this? Maybe they're in this room and they've only met us 2 days ago, or maybe they're out there all around the world and they've been thinking about this for some time, but they haven't given themselves permission to do it yet.
I can only speak for myself, but I knew that I really, 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 really wanted to do this.
Yeah.
And that I needed it. And if not now, when? Yeah. Really, if not now, when? And if not Fabienne, who? It's been amazing. I mean, really amazing. And I really did worry that it wouldn't translate into my type of business. But the AB, our buddies that we have, Linda, you're over there somewhere. Hi. Linda owns a trucking company. She's
Not
a woman.
Coach, a trucking company.
A trucking company. And we've been ABs for the last 2 or 3 months now. And we have gone through the same challenges and the same issues, and we keep bouncing off each other, and when she's down, I try and bring her up, and when I'm down, she tries to bring me up. And the diversity across everybody through Boldheart is immense, but the same shit happens in business.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about being bold and standing up and having your head above the parapet, and shit's going to happen just because you're bold enough to be out there. But in this community, you can push through that fear, realign yourself, and just have an inner strength to make it work. And the steps that you give us, I always worry about what's the next right thing to do. I don't have to worry about that anymore. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And just do it, guys. You know you need to.
Give her a hand, please. Thank you, Tina.